Here is our interview with Conchita Sarnoff. In the Ghislaine trial, do we know, did new names surface or any of the big eight, so to speak, surface?
No, that's what's going on right now. Now Ghislaine, right after her conviction, she said through her attorney that she no longer opposes for documents to be unsealed. So now those documents can be unsealed. Those documents being Virginia Giuffre's documents, identifying those 8 men, because they have been under seal for quite a while.
They've been under seal through which case? Which case were
Oh,
they?
goodness, through the civil case. Remember the 2015 civil case when David Boies first represented Virginia against Ghislaine.
Oh, suing Ghislaine.
Yes.
Gotcha. And was that case also settled?
Yes.
So here's Boies right in the middle of things, working on cutting a deal essentially with the other side, with Ghislaine's side, to say that these documents have to remain sealed.
Yes.
And that's information that she has in her head. She could reveal that at any time, but pursuant to her deal with David Boies representing Virginia, that was supposed to say sealed in some way.
Yes.
That's very interesting, because that definitely puts Boies at the center of protecting names, and in particular, potentially Bill Clinton.
Yes.
So Ghislaine's going to try to use this as a way to negotiate a plea deal. Is that
she was not offered, Jim, a plea deal in her
but she could now.
But now she could, yes. But she was convicted. I am actually scared for her, because I would be scared for anyone, not just Maxwell. But I'm scared for her, having witnessed what I did with Jeffrey Epstein, and having a federal agent tell me only days after Epstein was arrested in 2019 that he would not live, that there were, quote, towels on the inside, and that he would not make it to trial. That's a quote from an active federal agent at the time. And I believe that once again, even though I have spoken to the Department of Justice, and I, in fact, spoke previously to Attorney General Barr, and I said to him, Ghislaine is also not safe. And I believe that if this document with these 8, quote, powerful men are released, that Ghislaine Maxwell her life, I think, will be in jeopardy. I believe that.
A couple other names you didn't mention, but I got from some notes, or maybe one of the emails you sent us. Jean-Luc Brunel.
Yes, he's in jail. And he was the modeling scout, modeling agent, and the associate of Jeffrey Epstein back in the 80s and the 90s. And Jeffrey Epstein invested $1 million toward his modeling agency, MC Squared. It has since closed.
And what is he in jail for?
For trafficking children. Because what happened was that Epstein and Brunel, and sometimes Maxwell, they, when you have a modeling agency, there are no regulations, which is something I've been trying to work towards for the last 10 years. But because modeling agencies are not regulated in the United States, you can ask any underage child to go to, I don't know, Kentucky or Washington State and tell them there's a modeling gig, put them on a plane, and there's no bonding. There's nothing that will prevent that child from being kidnapped, raped, or, killed. And so Brunel used MC Square to solicit visas for foreign-born underage girls to bring them to the United States. And the girls that Epstein liked, those girls would meet Epstein And then some of them would be taken to his house, the townhouse. Others would be taken to a building that he and his brother owned on East 66. And you know the rest.
What do you believe Brunel was doing this even before Epstein?
Oh, absolutely. He actually has a terrible reputation. If you speak to anybody in the fashion world, they did a documentary about him in France. I mean, he actually had to leave Paris because
would it be fair to say that perhaps this is where Epstein learned his craft, was from Brunel?
No, I don't know. You know, Jim, I don't think you learn that kind of craft. I think.
Well, did he get his first, bad choice of words, but first taste of underage girls through Brunel, perhaps?
Oh, I wouldn't know that, but I think Jeffrey Epstein was close to that border way before Brunel came into his life. I think he was just ready to invest $1 million. Remember, he invested $1 million in Brunel, so Brunel could open up an agency so they could bring the underage girls into this country legally and officially and legitimately, right, using MC squared. So no, I think Epstein had been doing that way before Brunel came into his life.
But they were two peas in a pod, though.
Yes, absolutely.
And Brunel is in jail in Miami?
No, in Paris.
He's
in a Paris jail. He was arrested last year at the Charles de Gaulle airport when he was boarding a flight to Dakar, apparently with a one-way ticket, because he knew he was next.
Okay, and then another name is Jess Staley, former Barclays Bank CEO.
Well, that's a very interesting story. So Jess Staley was also a senior level official at JP Morgan. And he and Epstein were very good friends. In fact, Epstein introduced him, and the reason JP Morgan is catapulted to the big leagues once again is because Epstein introduced Jess Staley to Glenn Dubin, and Glenn Dubin sold his fund, Highbridge, to JP Morgan, and it was Jess Staley and Epstein who basically negotiated that deal, Staley acting on behalf of JP Morgan. And Staley went to visit Epstein multiple times while in prison in Palm Beach during his first arrest, and also walked Epstein in 2013 to Deutsche Bank when JP Morgan had no choice but to close Epstein's accounts. So Jess Staley was very close to Epstein, both personally and professionally. Epstein introduced JP Morgan to several clients, Leslie Wexner, Ghislaine Maxwell, who has had an account until obviously recently, Glenn Dubin. So he figures, he was fired November 11th of 2021 from Barclays Bank. A bank wouldn't fire a CEO because he was friends with someone who went to jail. That doesn't make sense. There's a lot there that hasn't come out yet.
Mm-hmm. So it could come out, he could be one of the 8, but could come out that he was engaging in the illegal conduct, and same, I guess, with Leon Block.
It could, yes. All that could come out.
Mm-hmm. Back to Epstein and what happened to him. You're of a belief that he was murdered.
Jim, I find it so difficult to believe, given what I've read, given the Bureau of Prisons report, given the fact that the cameras all went on the blinker, and given the fact that the biggest, most powerful, richest Mexican cartel leader, El Chapo Guzman, was 3 doors down from Epstein. All those elements to me, and having spoken to many people on the inside, make me believe that Epstein did not commit suicide. Perhaps he was forced to commit suicide. That is a possibility.
Well, he had apparently attempted it before. He was then put on suicide watch.
Correct.
He was arguably prematurely taken off of suicide watch.
Correct.
And then he, in fact, does commit suicide or is killed somehow. I don't know. I just, it's so hard to believe that he would have been allowed or the opportunity to commit suicide, considering that he had been on watch. But on the other hand, it would be even harder to believe that they could allow someone to somehow break into the prison and get into his cell and kill him and leave. And yes, a couple cameras are off, but not every camera in the prison is off. And there's no trace left behind and no evidence, no fingerprints, no nothing.
Everything you're saying is absolutely true and logical and makes sense. But, there are killings inside the prison too. It didn't have to be somebody from the outside. It could have been somebody from the inside.
Thank you again to our guest, Conchita Sarnoff. You can check out her book, TrafficKing, wherever you buy books. Thank you to our producer, Michael Parker. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back soon with another episode of The Hidden Truth Show.
Thank you for listening to The Hidden Truth Show with Jim Breslow. You can find us at hiddentruthshow.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Hidden Truth Show. Join us again next week for another episode of Hidden Truth Show with Jim Breslow.